Greetings, Indie Warriors, and welcome to I Dream of Indie. My name's Old Gamer Joe, and I hope you don't have a fear of clowns because today we are looking at 2D platformer Ayo the Clown. So where does this fear of clowns come from in people? Was it that movie It, where you have creepy Pennywise peeking out of the sewer? I know that scene never left my brain, but there's nothing to fear with cute little Ayo here. He's a harmless clown, I assure you. Very simple story here. Ayo is sleeping soundly one night with his lovable little dog, and suddenly he hears a big clash in the night and is awoken to see that his dog is now missing. So Ayo sets off on a quest to find missing dog. Throughout your adventure, a few hand-drawn illustrated art pieces will help to tell this story, and there's some narration to go along with those. I thought they were really well done. Unfortunately, the in-game story work isn't quite as strong. You do come across a few characters along the way, but the dialogue with Ayo and those characters is a little bit stiff and not all that well written. Overall, the storytelling techniques that are used here feel a little bit like a missed opportunity because on one hand, they do a great job with it, and on the other hand, not so great. So, alright, really, story is not the key component of a game like this, though. Ayo is, of course, a 2D platformer, and it's a really simple one for almost anyone to pick up and play. This would actually even be a good option for younger kids that are first getting accustomed to these style of games. You do have 3 difficulty options to choose from, and for the purpose of this review, I went with normal. Normal didn't really put up too much of a fight, so if you've played a lot of these style of games before and you're pretty good at them, you might actually want to start this one on hard. And for the younger kids out there, if normal bears too much of a challenge, they could go down to easy, so pretty good difficulty options here. They all felt balanced enough. Ayo the Clown starts out with your character having really no abilities at all. You can't even jump at the beginning of this game, but fear not, poor Ayo here will recollect skills along the way, including jump very early on. But it was interesting at first because most of the progressing forward involved having to bounce off of frogs and other objects in order to make jumps. It won't be long, however, till Ayo collects a bunch of different abilities. He can slam his head into the ground to attack hard-shelled enemies. He gets an attack with a balloon or other weapons like a rubber hammer, which are pretty amusing, water balloons that you can throw at enemies. You can actually lose your weapon if you take a hit, so that's worth noting. So a decent array of different abilities that you'll collect along the way, and there's even a shop that you'll come across where you can upgrade your balloon. The way double jumping works in this game is that Ayo will get his balloon out and then sort of float for a little bit of time. This can be upgraded. As a pure 2D platformer, is Ayo the best feeling one I've ever played? No, but it's pretty mechanically sound, surprisingly. The jumping works well enough, most of the mistakes were mine, and again, not the most difficult game in the world, so it's fairly forgiving. There's also a lot of variety between these levels that I can definitely appreciate. Yes, the game is broken up into different worlds, and those worlds can look similar to one another, but I loved how Ayo would switch things up within those worlds. For example, you might find yourself in a tank at one point, having to blast your way through a level, or in a classic chase scene, perhaps lava rising up above. Pretty good variety that keeps you on your toes and keeps the gameplay feeling fresh enough. In a lot of ways, the game reminded me of some of those older Yoshi games, a little bit on the easy side, but really colorful, bright, and enjoyable. And also, the boss fights that you come across in this game are fun for a change. I'm not the biggest boss fan in general, but here they were very much in the style of a Donkey Kong Country game where you just have to hop on the head, learn the very basic pattern, and they weren't too frustrating, so I really liked that about this game. I also enjoyed trying to find all the different gems and the collectibles. There's 3 lollipops on each world for you to discover, as well as 3 different teddy bears for you to try and collect. They're fairly well hidden, you don't have to go too out of your way, but it does add a little bit of replay value to the game. Another nice little touch is from time to time certain non-playable characters will give you side missions for you to partake in. They're not very difficult, they're usually pretty close to where that character is anyways, but they are decent diversions. Across the world map, there is a town where Ayo can kind of chill out, make some purchases, that kind of thing, as well as partake in some mini-games to collect more gems. These mini-games are kind of just basic distractions, but hey, more variety, why not? For one example, you can do some fishing in a pond. Visually, Ayo the Clown really impressed me. It's bright, colorful, cute, lots of crazy characters, platforms that have eyeballs. I know Silent Signs would really appreciate that. Great looking game though, it ran wonderfully on my PC. I was able to run it at 4K, 60 frames per second was not an issue, and the game just looks breathtaking. I think each world is unique from one another. There's some nice water effects. You can set the visuals to low, medium, or high depending on your hardware too. I had no issues on high, but that could vary depending on what you're playing on. I just feel like a lot of heart, love, and care went into these visuals. They look excellent, each world pretty unique from one another, great looking world map, nice visual presentation in general. And the soundtrack, great soundtrack actually, surprisingly great. Fits along perfectly with each world you're in, so you'll get a more tropical vibe, that kind of thing, depending where you are. This is one of those game soundtracks where you'll be humming along, tapping your feet. I thought it was excellent. Sound effects are also well implemented in Ayo the Clown, and the little bit of voice acting that is there in those illustrated cutscenes, pretty good. If you're looking for a more chilled out platformer that is very much a tribute to classic 16-bit style platformers in a lot of ways, then look no further than Ayo the Clown. Its visual presentation is fantastic. The story is a bit lacking, but honestly, who really cares that much? Soundtrack, really amazing in this one. And as a pure platformer, yes, a little bit on the easy side. You can tweak that by putting the game up to hard, but it still feels good enough. My favorite part of Ayo the Clown, though, was its imaginative level design. I thought that the levels were really a joy to go through. Yes, they ran a little bit long here or there, but I would say if you're a fan of 2D platformers and you're not scared of clowns, then Ayo the Clown is well worth your time. I'd like to thank you so much for watching the latest video from I Dream of Indie. It really does help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. We'd now like to pay tribute to our great indie warriors: Mitchell Hall, Kevilo, Bill Tikaz, Christian Cruz, Strick9, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Peach, Adriana Amato, CJR, Falco Lombardi, C-Coil, Skeptism, Jen Rose, Jesse, CPM, and Julian Kolbus. Thank you so much for all you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Let's bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. Hit that subscribe button, and let's defeat the echo chamber.